So, my little experiment about voting, having you guys vote for what I would review next, the results came out tied. So I had to go to one of my friends for a tiebreaker. The toy line that I'm going to be doing for the next week or so is going to be Lord of the Rings. So I'm going to start out with Aragorn as Strider. I believe that this was the very first Aragorn figure in the line. The line was done by Toy Biz, who had just come off their big success with the Marvel Legends series, and I think they were doing the WWE figures too, so they added the Lord of the Rings license to their range of toys. I was pretty excited because I was a fan of the books and very eagerly awaited the movies, and at the very least I was hoping to get the main characters, the 9 members of the Fellowship, and a ring wraith, and sort of the major characters. So I was pretty limited financially as to what toys I was going to be getting at the time these guys came out. So primarily I decided to go with Marvel Legends and the DC Direct toys, 90% of which you've seen me review on this channel. So anyway, back to Aragorn. And the one thing that really impressed me about these figures is they're so detailed. Everything about them. Just look at the detail in the costume on here. The detail on his gauntlets here. The stitching in his clothes. Even to the paint, where you see they've painted mud and stuff on his clothes here. Of course, he's been traveling, so you would expect his clothes to be dirty, and they've painted mud and splashes of dirt and grime and stuff on his clothes. So, it looks very cool. The one exception being his little cloak here, which is very clean. Even though it's very sculpted, very nice, and has you can see the worn edges are sculpted on there. It's pretty clear of paint and mud, which is funny because the rest of him is not. Now you can remove his little cloak here, and you can see even more deep. Look at that. See the stitching here? I mean, that's just great. Now, he doesn't look too much like Viggo Mortensen, the actor. Not quite there. I believe later figures did look a lot better. They would often do layers. So here you have this little top coat kind of a thing, and then you have a tunic down here, and you have finally pants there. Just a really great job at taking the costumes of the movie, which they were incredibly detailed. You can tell that they've taken the Toy Biz took the costumes and used them and tried to capture their costumes in the sculpt of the figure. Now, while I don't think they always did such a good paint job doing that, the sculpts were always nice. You can see here he's holding a torch to recreate the attack of the ring wraiths on Weathertop. Of course, he's a fighter, so he's going to need his sword. Pretty plain sword, but that's what he carries initially. And you might notice that his scabbard, you can keep the sword in its scabbard. This is where it really gets tough for me, because I'm not a gimmick person, but most of these figures had gimmicks. And his was like a quick sword draw in action, where you could squeeze his legs together and he would draw his sword out. Yeah, it's not quite working too well right now. So anyway, he would quick draw his sword out like that, and after he drew his sword, you could use it as a sword swinging action. I don't like gimmicks because they always get in the way of articulation, and I would rather have articulation than a gimmick. But having said that, again, now the gimmicks never get in the way of details on the figure. For articulation, this arm, you can kind of manipulate it around slightly because of the gimmick. You know, he does have like this spring-loaded bicep swivel, as well as a swing-loaded shoulder swivel. His elbow bends, and he's got a spring-loaded wrist swivel too. So you can't really pose him. For his other arm, it goes all the way around and a little bit in and out, and bends at the elbow, and that's it. No wrist articulation. So his legs do go forward and back, and he bends at the knee as well as a little bit at the ankle. So yeah, one more attention to detail is that he's got his little knife there on top of his sword scabbard, which is, again, just shows you how much detail, how much attention they paid to what was going on in terms of the costume in the movies. One accessory I'm forgetting, very important to the plot of the movie, is that he comes with the hilt of the broken sword Narsil. And of course Narsil would be reforged both in the book and the movie into Anduril. In the movie it's after Helm's Deep, but in the book it's actually after they get to Rivendell. He can hold it in either hand. There is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, the last of the line of kings of Numenor, and heir of Isildur,